In other news, President Cyril Ramaphosa says that thousands of public servants have already undergone lifestyle audits after he came under fire for delays in the process while answering questions in the National Assembly today. The president first promised audits when he took office over 5 years ago as part of efforts to fight corruption in the public service.
As at March 2023, over 11,000 public servants in national government have undergone lifestyle audits. This process of lifestyle audits for members of the executive is spearheaded by the Office of the Director General in the Presidency, who is also the Secretary of the Cabinet. The process was initially initiated towards the end of 2022. It had been preceded by a number of processes. Earlier this year, I sent letters to the Deputy President, ministers and deputy ministers, requesting their consent in writing to the process to ensure that the information obtained in a legitimate or is obtained in a legitimate manner, as well as legal manner. I received the same letter and signed by the Director General. Members of the executive, including myself, have submitted all these consent forms for the nationally driven process of lifestyle audits.
For more on the President's question and answer session in the National Assembly today, especially the issue of those lifestyle audits, let's bring in Dr. Sam Koma. A very good evening to you, Dr. Koma. Grateful for your time as always. So 11,000 public servants have already undergone this audit process, yet members of Cabinet and the President are yet to do so. How much is there to celebrate as far as progress is concerned, given that scenario?
Yes, thank you, Tembekile, for the opportunity. So this tells you the lack of sense of agency that has since characterized the presidency of Cyril Ramaphosa, the president who took office sometime in 2018. I like the fact that you also alluded to the fact that this issue of conducting of lifestyle audits was expressed and raised by the president when he took office in 2018. It's been 5 years. There's been no much movement in respect to ensuring that public servants, including cabinet ministers, duly comply with this particular aspect, which has been shaped by the president as one of the mechanisms he put in place to ensure ethical governance. But remember, already this issue of ensuring that there is high standard of professional ethics is embedded in the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, and also is one of the issues that is also embedded in a number of pieces of legislation. I find it quite interesting and ironic that each time public servants and cabinet ministers are expected to ensure that they exemplify and also display ethical conduct and behavior through responding and complying with a number of legislative requirements, including constitutional obligations, then we seem to have challenges around this simple adherence to the basics that are provided for in the law. And also bearing in mind that one of the outcomes of of governance is ethical culture, according to King 4 Code on corporate governance. So we expect public servants and ministers to adhere to these simple mechanisms that are being outlined by the president. By the way, this is one of the priority issues of his administration, which took office in 2019. Now, it is quite also concerning because there seem to be delays in ensuring that this particular lifestyle audits are completed in due course, and also take into account that the term of office of this current administration ends next year. So where is the indication and also the assurance from the president that, guys, come the end of this term of this administration, the sixth administration, all lifestyle audits would have been concluded. And there's a benchmark already, because we know that with the Western Cape provincial government, they've managed to complete lifestyle audits of all the members of the Provincial Executive Council.
And what
that is
message,
the MECs and the
what message does it send, Dr. Koma? Yes, 11,000 public servants have already undergone these lifestyle audits. It's a fraction of the public sector when you consider how massive it is. I mean, it employs hundreds of thousands of people. Some estimates, I think, put it over 1 million employees in the public service overall in South Africa. But 11,000, a fraction, yes. But Cabinet, the President himself, they've not taken these audits. So what message does that send about how seriously they're taking it? Because to champion something and not do it first surely does not reflect positively.
Yes, you're quite right, Thembekile. It also shows that there is lack of bold and decisive leadership coming from the president. He's the one who made pronouncement in 2018 during the New Dawn era, which, of course, he's the one who expressed that. And also, when he was elected in 2019 to serve his first term, he put this matter on the agenda, and he said he's dedicating his administration to ensure that this particular issue is flagged as priority one, falling under the whole notion of building a capable, developmental, and ethical state. So the ball is in the court of the president to say, to what extent can people start taking any pronouncements you make very serious if you are able to hold your own members of cabinet accountable in terms of adhering to these basic requirements. That speaks to ethical governance, professional ethical conduct, and as I said earlier, the issue of ensuring that they construct a capable, ethical, and also professional state.
Right.
So it's an indictment on the part of the president.
Do you think there's any hope at this stage that all of this will be concluded before the next general election, when basically this current administration as it stands will have come to the end of its term?
That can only happen if there is clear-cut indication that these are the timelines and these are the commitments we are undertaking to ensure that there's full compliance with this requirement across the board, national and provincial governments, in terms of complying with this, what they call an implementation framework on lifestyle audits, which was introduced in 2021 by the Department of Public Service and Administration. I'm glad they seem to have escalated this to the office of the Director General in the office of the President, just to ensure that there is more integrity in terms of ensuring that this process is properly concluded by all the affected parties.
Can I get your thoughts then, Dr. Koma, on another issue that came up during the question and answer session today, brought up by the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, who basically asked about South Africa's association with countries with poor or questionable human rights track records, this in relation to the recent expansion of BRICS, as we know, to include the likes of Iran, Saudi Arabia. He also referenced, for example, President Cyril Ramaphosa's presence in Zimbabwe yesterday for inauguration of Emerson Mnangagwa for a second term as president, despite claims that that election was rigged by the opposition. Does that reflect poorly on this country and the Ramaphosa administration specifically, that despite those various issues, there is clearly an association with these nations?
Yes, it's an interesting question which was raised by the leader of the opposition party. Of course, South Africa is known to be a defender and promoter and also champion of human rights across the world. Our constitution enjoins the state to do exactly that. But remember, in this setup, also South Africa has to look into what are the permanent interests or interest that the country has in terms of expanding its global trade relations, and also ensuring that they are able to promote a trade cooperation with various countries as part of addressing and also advancing the strategic objectives that shapes the state or the government around issues of economic development and all of this. So it's perfectly right for the government through the president to explore this kind of relations with any country that can best serve our interest in economic terms, political terms, and also otherwise.
Dr. Sam Koma, good to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time